Hello everyone, welcome back to again grade 12 students physical education class started. So dear students, our chapter is 8th, especially is biomechanism and sports. Okay, and this chapter continue revision, and our topic is today especially types of movements. Types of movements means it means flexion, extension, abduction and addiction. Okay, this is the main types of movement. So firstly we will discuss is the main biomechanism related. It means last day also we will discuss. So any student doubt for related, main need and importance of biomechanism related and meaning related, please send message after this discusses new topic. Okay, so last day we will discuss is the doubt. Okay, so main is the types of movements. This is the especially types of movements is the main. There are several type of movement in joints that are described in anatomical terms. These are, first is gliding movement. Gliding movement. Okay, gliding. Okay, gliding movement is the main. It is the types of movements in which one surface moves or glides over another surface. So it is the simplest type of movements in which there is no rotation or angular movement involved. This is the gliding movement. Yeah, it is common in all of the joints. What it occurs in combination with the angular movements. Yeah, however, in similar joints such as hand and feet, yeah, calf and tarsal joints. So these are the only movements. It is the gliding movement. Okay. So next point is the second type of movement is the angular movement. Second is angular movement. So angular movement is the angular movement related. This type of movement occurs between the long bones, causing a change in the angular between the two bones. The angular either increases or decreases. Various angular movement are flexion, extension, abduction and addiction. These are explained in detail below. So main is first is flexion. It means flexion and extension. Extension. Okay, this is the main flexion and extension. Flexion and extension related is the main. These movements occur in the sagittal plane and around or frontal horizontal axis. They refer to an increase or decrease in angular between two body parts. So main flexion related is the flexion takes place with the angular between the two bones attached to the joint being affected decreasing. So when you flex your knee and angle between your femur thigh bones or upper leg and your tibia, yeah, femoral or lower leg decreases. Okay, for example of flexion includes trunk jump, yeah, front dumbbells, raises, bicep curl. This is the main example. So main example is the main during walking. Okay, so our arms in front side, this is flexion, and our arm is return, this is extension. Flexion, extension, flexion, extension. This is the during walk time or any movement time, our arm rotation is front side flexion, back side extension. Next is the extension is the opposite of flexion. Extension is the opposite of flexion. During leg also, if our leg during walking time or any activity time, our leg is back side, this is flexion, and opposite direction is the extension. It means extension occurs when the angle between the two bones increases. So when you slighten or extend your knee joint, the angle between your upper and lower leg increases. So example is the especially example of extension including slight leg bend, lift, slight leg bend, lift, and tricep press down, and military press. Okay, this is the main example. So after this, next point is the main abduction and addiction. First is abduction. First is flexion and extension. Second is abduction and addiction. Addiction. See, addiction means these two movements are in the frontal plane and around a sagittal horizontal axis. This is the abduction and addiction later. So first is abduction is a movement laterally away from the midline or center of your body. This is our body later. Abduction is the movement laterally away from the midline or center of your body. So form a standing position when you move your leg to the side away from the middle of your body. You are abducting your leg. This is the main abduction later. Next is adduction. Abduction is clear. After this, adduction. So adduction later is means adduction is a movement in the opposite direction and towards the center of your body when you return your leg from the abducted position, so back to a normal standing position. You are adducting your leg. So examples of adduction includes cable crossover pull down, या spine dumbbell flies, या hip adduction machines. This is the main especially abduction and adduction later. So third point is the rotation. Rotation related, rotation of the body parts can be towards or away from the center of the body. So it is a form of movement in which the movement of bound is around a center axis without any displacement from the axis. So internal rotation or middle rotation refers to rotation towards the axis of the body. So external rotation or lateral rotation refers to rotation away from the center of the body. Next is the circumduction. Circumduction, yeah, fourth point is circumduction. Okay. Circumduction. Circumduction can be dissolved as the movement of joint in circular motions related. So it is the movements which takes place between the articular cavity and the head of a bone. So it can also be visualized as a circular motion of the part being moved. It is a combination of flexion, yeah, extension, abduction and addiction. Okay, so it is most prominently seen at shoulder and hip joints. This is the circumduction, continue circulation. Okay, this is the forward and back side. So dear student, this is the abduction, adduction, rotation, circumduction and flexion and extension, angle movement. This is all, and first is the gliding movement. So this is the all type of movements. So I hope you will understand this topic. Any student doubtful related this topic, please send message. After this, explain next topic. Okay. Okay, Ankurit beta, video is few blur, so I send a recording video also. Okay, in Facebook, so check again. Any other doubt? So meaning and importance of biomechanism in sports. Okay, so main is the biomechanism. Words is a combination of two words, the bio and mechanics. So bio means living things and mechanism means the field of physics. For example, the force related to body movements. It can also be force related body movements. It can also be said the biomechanics is the study of force and their effects on living systems. The study of biomechanism provide the knowledge of human body movements and the forces that act on human movements. Yeah, biomechanism helps to know about the correct movement and help in better performance. Okay, this is the main biomechanism. The main principles of biomechanism can also be used or applied in many fields of study, including biomechanism, physical and occupational therapy, then physiological engineering, aerospace engineering and medical biomechanism plays an important role in physical education field, especially in games and sports. So it helps in the study of biomechanism movement of the athlete and players based on the principles of physics. Yeah, this is the principles of physics. Okay, the essential biomechanism in sports is focused on analyzing the physiological machines of human movements. This includes analysis of how force interact and the effect these forces have on and within the body. In other words, biomechanics in sport examines and explains with why and how the human body moves like it does. Yeah, biomechanism analysis is also helpful in reducing sports injuries and increasing safety to the increasing safety. Yeah, to be effective teachers of physical education, coaches, and other sports performance should have an understanding of the principles of biomechanism. Next is the need and importance of biomechanism in sports. It means first is the improves performance in sports. It means day by day, main importance is the due to biomechanism in sports, our improves performance in sports. The major goal of biomechanism in sports and physical exercises is to improve performance in given sports a physical exercises. For example, the correct biomechanism of running allows athletes to carry out regular physical exercises for long enough periods of time without being seriously limited by injuries and their consequences. Second is improvement in techniques. In many sporting events, teaching is the major factor of performing. A sports technique is a physical activity, a physical action of an athlete which leads to the best possible execution of physical motion in conformity with the required task of a given sporting event. Yeah, improvements of techniques with the help of biomechanism can be used by teachers and coaches of correct motion of students or athletes due to sports especially. Next is the development of better sports equipment. So, especially is the developments of better sports equipment related few sports equipment is the developed day by day. So, due use of biomechanism can also lead to a better look and better uh, functioning of sports equipments. Okay. Next is the improves training techniques. So improved training techniques related is the biomechanism can help improves training of athletes by the analysis of teaching imperfection of a given athlete. The coach identifies the type of training needed by the athlete to improve. Next is prevent sports injuries. One of the goals of sports biomechanics is to provide recommendation for injury prevention and rehabilitation. A healthy athlete will perform better than an athlete with frequent injuries. Next is helps in understanding human body. An athlete is limited by strength or endurance of certain muscles group by speed by motion or by specific aspects of motion techniques. In the case of certain sports, skill the required ability to execute a motor task are not easy to detect, and quantitative biomechanism analysis must be used. This is the need and importance of biomechanism in sports. First is improved performance in sports, improvement in techniques, development in better sports equipments, improvement training techniques, prevent sports injuries, and help in understanding human body. This is all for need and importance of biomechanism in sports. Next is the main is types of movements: flexion, extension, abduction, and addiction. So main is the first types of movements. There are several types of movements of joints that described in anatomical terms. These are gliding movement. Gliding movement is this is main. It is the type of movements in which one surface moves or gliding over another surfaces. Next is angular movement. Angular movement is this type of movement occurs between the long bones, causing a change in the angle between the two bones. The angular either increases or decreases. Your various angle movements are flexion, extension, abduction and adduction. These are explained in detail below. Next is flexion and extension. This is the angular movement part, flexion and extension. So flexion and extension is the main. These movement occurs in the sagittal plane and around a frontal horizontal axis. They refers to an increases or decreases in angle between two body parts. First is flexion. Okay, so flexion is the main task. Flexion takes place when the angle between the two bones attached to the joint being affected decreases. When you flexion your knee, the angle between your femur thigh bones or upper leg and your femoral or lower leg decreases. Main example of flexion including tongue jump या front dumbbell raises या bicep curls. This is the flexion. For example is the one more upper side, front side. This is the flexion and back side is the extension. Flexion, extension. Next is the extension is opposite of flexion and extension occurs when the angle between the two bones. It means flexion is the front, opposite direction is the extension. So when you straightened or extended your knee joint, the angle between your upper and lower leg increases. Okay, is the example of extension including straight leg deadlift, yeah, triceps press down. This is the main extension. After this, next one is the abduction and adduction. So abduction and adduction is the movements literally away from the midline or center of your body from a standing position. When you move your leg is to the side away from the middle of your body, you are abduction your leg. Example of abduction including straight arm, dumpling, side raises, star jumps, hip abductions machines. Next is adduction is the movement in the opposite direction and towards the center of your body. When you return your leg from the abduction position back to a normal standing position, you are reducing your leg. Example of adduction includes cable, cross over pull down, या spine dumbbell flies, या hip adductions machines. After this, next is the rotation and circumductions. Rotation is the rotation of the body part, can be towards or away from the center of the body. It is a form of movements in which the movement of bound is around a center axis without any displacement from the axis. Okay, internal rotation or middle rotation refers to rotation towards the axis of the body. Yeah, external rotation or lateral rotation refer to rotation away from the center of the body. Next is circumduction. Circumduction can be described as the movement of joints in the circular motions. It is the movement which takes place between the articular cavity and the head of a bone. It can also be visualized as a circular motion of the part being moved. It is a combination of flexion, extension, abduction and adduction. It is most prominently seen at shoulder and hip joints. This types. Okay, shoulder and okay. Next is hip is a continued rotation. It means circular motion related. Okay. So dear students, I hope you are understand this topic, type of movements and all are explained importance. So any student doubtful related this topic, please send message me. So dear students, after lesson also you again watch in Facebook. Thank you and have a nice day.